Okay, in part one of the YouTube video, we left off with this slide here, and we will continue from here. Okay, in this slide, we said that the tax rate that the employer is going to have to pay is 6% if they don't pay their SUTA on time, but is only 0.6% if they do pay their SUTA on time. So an employer that has $10,000 of taxable wages for FUTA purposes, they will pay $60 in FUTA if they pay their SUTA on time. But they'll pay $600 for FUTA if they do not pay their SUTA on time. So you want to make sure that your company pays the SUTA on time. Now, another aspect of paying FUTA is that there is a maximum. So we have to keep track of each employee's wages starting from January 1st. Once their gross wages hit, their cumulative gross wages hit $7,000, then from then on, the rest of the year, the employer doesn't need to pay any more FUTA on that employee. Okay, so on January 1st, all the employees start at zero. So here's an example. If John has cumulative wages, that means January 1st to right before this paycheck. He has $9,000 of beginning cumulative wages as of April 1st. That is over the $7,000 maximum. The employer will not owe any FUTA on John, not April or all the way through December. Then January 1st of next year, everybody starts at zero again, and the employer will have to start paying FUTA on John until John hits the maximum again. Now, if the employee has cumulative wages of way less than the maximum, let's say somebody only has $3,000 of cumulative wages by April 1st. Well, then we're going to have to take whatever they're making for this paycheck and multiply it by the 0.006, assuming they pay their SUTA on time. Now, what if they have cumulative wages that's close to the maximum? So here's an example. If Mary has $6,500 of cumulative wages by April 1st, and this paycheck of hers is $900 of gross wages, then $500 is taxable. We're going to take the $7,000 max, we're going to subtract her beginning cumulative, and that tells us how much she has left to go that's taxable till she hits the maximum. So if she's had $6,500 already, she only has $500 more to go that's taxable. So out of her $900, $500 is taxable, and the other $400 is not, because the other $400 is now past the maximum. So the employer will pay FUTA of $3 on Mary for this paycheck, which is the $500 taxable portion times 0.006, and that's $3. So it's not a huge amount. And then after that, the whole rest of the year, no FUTA will be paid on Mary because she's now hit the maximum. All right, what about SUTA? SUTA is the primary unemployment fund, where employers pay into that state SUTA fund, and then if employees get laid off, they go down to the state unemployment to get benefits. They don't go to FUTA to get benefits. The employees go to the state unemployment office. So obviously employers are going to have to pay a lot more for SUTA because that's the one where they're actually paying out benefits. Now, the amount that any particular employer will pay is not all the same. Like FUTA, it was 0.006 for everybody who paid their SUTA on time. And it was 0.06 for everybody who did not pay their SUTA on time. So you didn't have some people who lay off lots of people paying more than others. But for SUTA, that amount of laying people off is going to then in turn determine what rate the company is paying. So if the company lays off a bunch of people, they will pay a higher SUTA rate than the company that hardly ever lays off people or never lays off people. They will pay a low rate of SUTA. This is called the experience rating. Okay? And each employer is told by the state what their rate is. So they're going to be told ahead of time, okay, for next year, this is what your rate is. And it's based on the past experience about how many people they laid off. Just like the FUTA rate is applied against a maximum of 7,000, SUTA also has a maximum. Now, each state is different as to what their maximum is and what range of amounts, percentages have to be paid. So you can look in Chapter 5 and it lists all the different states and what each state's maximum is and a bunch of information for each state. Okay, so what's the maximum for South Carolina? Well, South Carolina's maximum is 14,000, and their lowest rate is 1%, and then they have a highest rate, I think, is 5.4%. Okay, so let's take a look at an example. Here we have two employees. John has cumulative wages on April 1st of 15,000. So that's all the gross wages he's made from January 1st to right before April 1st. His current check has gross wages of $1,000. Mary has cumulative wages of $11,000 since January 1st, and her current check has gross wages of $800. And let's assume that the SUTA rate for this particular company is 3.2%, just kind of halfway. Well, ABC Company is not going to owe anything on John. John had cumulative wages of $15,000. That's past the $14,000 South Carolina maximum, so ABC will not have to pay anything on SUTA for John. And of course, he's above the FUTA maximum, so they won't have to pay any FUTA either for John. Now for Mary, Mary's cumulative is 11,000. That's below the 14,000 maximum, so they will have to pay. Her gross wages for this paycheck is 800, so they take the 800 times 0.032, that's the 3.2%, and they get $25.60. They're going to have to pay on Mary for SUTA. Now Mary's cumulative 11,000 is over the 7,000 FUTA maximum, so they won't have to pay anything for Mary for FUTA on April 1st, but they will have to pay SUTA of $25.60. Okay, there's also some states where the employee has to have some taken out of their check. It's only a few states, almost all states, including South Carolina, only the employer has to pay SUTA. But in these few states, the part that the employee has taken out of their check is very, very small. The employer is still paying the hugest part of the SUTA. And no employee deductions will be